Hi, good morning everyone. Thanks for subscribing my channel, DevOps Architect channel, and thanks for the viewers who have viewed my first video, and thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. And that was a very short video on Tomcat deployment, and that was my first video in my YouTube channel. Uh, I really need your support to make more videos on DevOps tools. So in future, I'll be doing more tools, more recording on tools like Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes, Docker, and more practicals. I'll be going in depth of each tool. Please share your comments. Please share your views on your comments. I'll be very happy to reply to your questions, or it might be any feedback that would be really appreciated. So from today, I'll be posting the Jenkins tutorials, all the practicals of the Jenkins, and today will be the very first video on Jenkins, how to configure, how to install and configure Jenkins in Linux server, and I'll be also integrating Git repository to Jenkins, and will run through the sample job and all the options in Jenkins. Yes, so let's start on Jenkins. I have the Linux server installed in AWS, AWS Cloud, and this on this same system I'll be installing the Jenkins software or the Jenkins server. So the next part is I'll be sharing the steps how to install the Jenkins in the description of my each video of the different classes. So that will be really helpful for you guys, and please comment if this is really helping you, or if you need any more changes. So let's go and start installing the Jenkins on Linux server. So let me access the Linux server on my terminal first. All right. So yeah, I'm into the Linux server. So let me jump into sudo su, that is my root user. I'm into the root user now. So let me give a short introduction on Jenkins. So Jenkins is a continuous integration and a continuous deployment tool. So where basically Jenkins is extensively used in a real time to automate most of the steps, like launching an EC2 instance. It could be building a software package, or it could be the releases, or it could be any infrastructure automation, or if you want to automate any software deployments. So for all this purpose, the Jenkins is basically used, and that is why it is called CI/CD tool. And to install the Jenkins software in Linux server, the prerequisite is you need to have the Java. So I saw that Java is not installed. So let me install the Java software on the system. So I'm using install Java JDK, that's 1.8, and we install the software. So it's downloads the software. It downloads the software from a repository from the internet, and gets installed on your machine. Yeah, so it's getting installed. I think it should be done in 5 seconds. Oh yeah, so Java is installed. Now let me download the repo key. It's a Jenkins IO key. So basically, where it will my machine will identify the Jenkins package from the Jenkins repository using this key, and then it downloads in my system. So next I'll be going to the repository directory. So inside the repository, inside the yum.repos.d directory, I need to download the repo of Jenkins. So use the curl command to download the Jenkins repo. So ensure that if you don't have this repo file of Jenkins, you'll not be able to install the package. So now the next I'll be installing the package. I'll install Jenkins. Why? Right, so yeah, so let me start the servers. So by default the service wouldn't be started, so let me check Jenkins service. Yeah, it's not loaded, it's inactive. So let me start the service. It's, yeah, it started. Let me see the status of the Jenkins as it's actively running now. So the next thing is, once you install the Jenkins, there will be a few directory structure which gets created in the system, that is cd var lib and Jenkins. So this is the directory of, this is the home directory of the Jenkins, where it stores basically the jobs or the workspace or nodes, the slaves information, or it could be the plugins information. So I'll be going through this in the next classes. So this, as this is just an installation of the configuration of the Jenkins. Why? So the next thing, uh, the next thing is, like, I wanted to access the Jenkins on the browser, so in the URL. So in order to access that, you need to know about the port number of the Jenkins, right? So on which port basically the Jenkins listens, right? So for that, go to etc sysconfig, and there will be a file called Jenkins. So here this is the Jenkins file, where basically you can see the port information. So the Jenkins is listening on the port 8080. So take the public IP address of the AWS instance and have this IP address with the port 8080. You should be able to access the Jenkins. Yep, so you're able to access the Jenkins, because my security group, in my security group, I should have enabled the 8080 port, which is listening to the outside world. So this scenario would be a different in the company in the real time, because the Jenkins, as a Jenkins is CI/CD tool, it's the purpose of using it. It's for internal usage, where it's used for building a software package. So this would be an internal IP address, or the internal domain, because this cannot be open to the outside world, right? So once at the initial part of the installation, once you install the Jenkins, you have to unlock the Jenkins with an admin password, with the path is given in the same dashboard. So view this by the cat command, and you should be able to get this password. So copy paste this text, and the Jenkins will be unlocked, and then it will ask you to install the plugins. So the Jenkins is majorly a plugin oriented software, so plugin oriented Jenkins CI/CD tool. So basically, the Jenkins with the Jenkins are installed. The Jenkins will be installing with more plugins like Git and Maven. So there are build tools. So there are testing tools, and there is also deployment tools. So when I said that Jenkins is basically continuous integration and a deployment, so to achieve the deployment, we basically to go with the deployment strategy. We go with the deployment tools. So all these tools are represented in Jenkins via plugins. So in at the initial part, so I'll be going with install suggested plugins, because the Jenkins will get installed with few plugins, which get set up at the time of setup. So I'll show like how to manage the plugins and how to install the plugin in the next I mean in few seconds. So let's get this plugins installed. So why do we need plugins? Plugins are very much important because it gives a state of that particular integration. Let me take an example. So Jenkins is basically a CI/CD tool, where I wanted to use the Jenkins for launching an EC2 instance, but the launching an EC2 instance would be a part of the AWS tool or AWS cloud. So for that, I need to install the plugin of AWS supportable binary. So for that, I need to manage the plugin. I need to install that particular package from the plugin management. So for like that, there are different plugins like LDAP. LDAP is for basically the authentication for Active Directory authentication. So these are the different plugins which basically used in Jenkins. So let me create an admin user. So I'm creating an admin user for this lab purpose. I mean, this would be also created in the real time, but it cannot be a same admin username as an admin. So I'll be just giving as a sample email ID for this, and I'll just save and continue with the admin user. So this and warning I'm getting because my password is not met with a complex requirement. That should be fine because I'm doing only for the lab purpose. So, and this would be your instance configuration where you have the Jenkins URL for to con to reach the Jenkins URL. Right, so start using the Jenkins, and how you get a wizard, the Jenkins dashboard. So basically where you see in the left hand side you see the new item, people, build history, manage Jenkins. So there are different options here, and the right side corner you can see the Jenkins version, so on which basically you're working on. So let me get into the manage Jenkins, which is very important console here. Basically, you will be we'll be working more on this manage Jenkins because the different types of configuration. So whether you do it for the building a software package, or whether you wanted to give a pipeline to to launch an EC2 instance for a developer, or if you wanted to integrate to the Git repository. So there are multiple scenarios or the multiple reasons for that you need to do a configuration in manage Jenkins. So here, as I told you, like I'll be talking about manage plugins. So let me get into this manage plugins, and this is a dashboard where basically you manage the plugins. So as I told, the Jenkins is majorly a plugin oriented. The functionality of the Jenkins jobs are dependent on the plugins. So there are four sections. One is updates, available, installed, and advanced. So updates is the section where basically you have the plugin installed and that plugin needs some updates and you need to update for that, and that is what basically the updates section is for. And the available tab is for suppose if you want to install any plugin into Jenkins, right? For that you need to go for available, so which is available for your Jenkins. And the next tab is for install. So the install tab is where basically your plugin is already installed, so that plugins will be shown here. So for example, let me look into the and plugin. The and plugin is already installed and it's showing in the installed tab. So now if I go for the available tab and if I search for and, I will not get here. I'll not get an AND plugin because it's already installed in the Jenkins, and that's why I'm able to see in the installed tab. And the next one is the advanced. The advanced tab is where, so suppose if you're looking some plugin which is not available in the available tab or it's not installed, so then if you want a plugin which is completely unique and it's just available from the outside, I mean if you want to download from the internet, so you can just upload it by using the upload plugin, or you can use the HTTP proxy configuration because you have kept your plugins in a different server in your internal infrastructure and you download the plugin from there, right? So let me give an example of one plugin which I wanted to download from the outside. So let me download Docker plugin for Jenkins, and this is the official website of Jenkins plugin where you can download the plugins, right? So now I'll be going for downloading this. So I think I already have this plugins with me. So that is docker plugin.hbi. Yeah, great. So what I'll be doing is like I need to upload that plugin here, and it can come down and check for the plugin. Yep, this is the plugin, and I just uploaded. So the time when you upload, it started installing in your Jenkins box. I'm Jenkins server. Yes, if you see this, there are Docker plugins which is getting installed. So after you install this, you need to restart the Jenkins in order to make that impacted in the Jenkins server. So, but there is one condition. So you cannot restart the Jenkins server or Jenkins service at any time on any time, because in the Jenkins is basically a continuous integration. As I told you, there might be a developers who are dependent on the Jenkins for building the software. And because the Jenkins, you can reset the Jenkins service only on the change window, or when there is a people are not using this, right? So once a plugin is installed, you no need to restart it, because there are few plugins which actually doesn't require restart to get the functionality of that particular plugin. So there are few plugins which you actually it needs a restart, right? So that's how basically the Jenkins plugins can be managed. And let me get into the Jenkins again. So that's about the plugins management, and we'll see more about the plugins, because the time when I start integrating the multiple tools, we'll be seeing more into the plugins management and how to install it basically. Um, so let me get into manage plugins, and let me talk about the global tool configuration. So the global tool configuration is basically where, as the name says, a global tool configuration. The configuration which is which is global for all the jobs in Jenkins, right? So here there is JDK, Java, Bear, Git, Gradle, and so there are different tool which is globally required on for all the jobs. Now, for example, there is a Git, so there is no such executable Git in path. That means you have the Git plugin installed in the Jenkins dashboard, but it cannot identify from your server. So for example, if I give a Git, it says the Git command not found. So let's see, if I don't have the Git package, what happens with respect to the jobs. So let me apply and save. I will not install, I haven't installed any Git plugin here, but let me go and create a sample job. So the sample job, I'm creating a sample job for Git integration. So I'll see that job one, this is for Git integration. This job is simple, that I integrate the GitHub repository to my Jenkins. So let me click on freestyle project and click OK. So the job will get created. So I want to show one more thing here. So there is a directory structure, as I told you. There is a var lab and Jenkins. So this is the home directory of the Jenkins. So here there should be a jobs directory. So now if I go to jobs directory, you should be able to see my job one, because I just created a job one. Now I wanted to integrate the GitHub repository to this job one. So let me come down to source code management, and I'll take the Git. So for now, actually I have the Git plugin installed, so that's the reason I'm getting Git here. So if you have the Bitbucket installed in the plugin, so you should have got the Bitbucket, the Bitbucket option, so that you can give the URL. So the repositories, so yeah, now I need to give the repository the URL repository. So go to your GitHub repository, right? So go to your GitHub repository. Don't take the browser link, because this is not your the repository link. The repository link would be this one. Click on download, click on code here, the drop down, and you can find. So click on this clipboard, so this will copy. So why you need to copy this one? Because the URL of the Git repo will have the extension of .git, so which represents this is a repository URL, right? So once you have this, and now you may see the error now, because it is unable to connect, it's failed to connect to the repository. The reason, it cannot it cannot recognize the git command. So if I give a git command here, it cannot, because even though if you give git clone and the URL, so because it cannot identify the git, because there is no git package installed in my Linux server, on my Jenkins server. So to do this, I'm going to install the git package. So we should make sure it installs the git components and the git binaries. So now let me open the window, and let me show in the manage plugins, manage Jenkins, and come to the global tool configuration. And if you see, now the error is wiped out, because I have my git installed in the line in the Jenkins server, right, in the backend. So now let me copy this and refresh the screen, reload the screen, and give the git URL. So now, yeah, so there's no more error now, because it's able to connect to the GitHub repository, right? So now apply and save. This is just normal GitHub integration to the Jenkins, and build now. So this is building a job. So the numbers what is coming here, these are the builds number, and yes, of course you can see this in the Jenkins. Now as I told you, there is in jobs, there is a job one which I created, and to ls there's a builds directory. If you go to builds directory, you can see there is a build, there is a job build number one. So suppose if I do again build, I'll be getting a build history as a number two. So here you can see there is a number two as generated here, because these are the builds number. Now, so what happened to this? So whether it is successful or whether it's failed or what. So basically the blue icon, so the blue icon signifies that the job is job executed successfully, right? That's an output of the job. So if you click on console output, you get the few logs that what's happening here. So basically this job has cloned the repository from the GitHub repository to the Jenkins. So where you can see the files. So what files you can see is the files of the repository. So this is the repository. So it should have copied the source directory and the pom.xml in my Jenkins server. So for that you can see under go to the workspace, there was a directory called jobs. The jobs will store all the builds, the number of builds that what it run, and the workspace will store the configuration. So basically that what I have in my the builds, so all this will be stored here. So there is also job one. Yeah, you can see the source directory pom.xml. So these are the two directories which got cloned from this repository to my Jenkins server. So this is how basically the directory structure, right? So var lib Jenkins as an home directory, and var lib Jenkins jobs is where you store all the jobs, where you store all the jobs. Basically, the number of builds, how many times you build a particular job. So everything, the builds of that particular job is stored here. And the next is the builds that builds your project, and it contains the source code basically in the workspace. So that you can see that the build, whatever you build it from the job, that gets an output and stores in a workspace. So that's a basically your project output, or you can see that project you get an build from the jobs and you store in the workspace. And that is how basically this jobs and workspace makes a difference. And there are a lot of things to see inside this workspace. I'm sorry, not in the workspace. It should be in the Jenkins. Now there are secrets, there are plugins, and there are nodes. So if you go to the nodes, you can find basically the what are the nodes are associated to this Jenkins. So there is another class that I'll be taking on master and slave configuration. So there this will be very useful for you. And this is about the sample job, which and this is about the installation and configuration, and also the Jenkins GitHub integration. So in the next class I'll be talking about how to build a software package with continuous integration, like how to configure Java, how to configure Maven. I'll be talking about the Maven options, and also I'll be talking about how to build a software package and build as a WAR file. So these are the things that I'll be taking in the next class, and please stay tuned. Thanks for your thanks for your support, and please support me and subscribe this channel and share with your friends. Thank you so much. Bye bye guys.